Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. So nice to have you here today. Welcome to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, and a shout out to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio out of New York. Hello, Chris Roberts. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Celebrate Great Britain Royally Rich. Let's bring out the stars of our show, Helena, Chard, and Ian Pelham Turner. Welcome.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yes, good day. Lovely to see you as well. I feel kind of bad that it's so warm here and it's so cold there.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
Yes,
we're in. It's very warm inside.
we hear the message.
Well, if it's any consolation, I'm here in the dark, so behind the screen, so I'm not outside anyway. But we've got a lot of sunshine in our hearts, right?
We
Absolutely.
have lots of love to share.
Absolutely.
And great guests today.
We don't worry about snow and gales and
We're
-2. And
we're hardy.
We're hardy Brits.
I love that expression, hardy. We're hardy. I love the way the British speak. It's so much nicer than the way we speak over here, I have to say.
Oh, well, we don't really notice it, I think. But so it's been a fun time in the UK, in Great Britain. I mean, there's lots of things going on. There's lots of political things going on, actually, which are maybe not so jolly in a sense. The most recent thing is this Downing Street video, which has been leaked. It's the alleged Christmas party that took place supposedly during lockdown, I think on September the 18th. So it's caused a lot of furore and lots of unhappiness. And, you know, our Boris Johnson is saying it didn't happen, but obviously number 10 is where he lives. And we're in this kind of, it's not great for morale, to be quite honest, is it? And I mean, really, he's been caught red-handed because this video has been leaked, and all his advisors and aides have been laughing. He is now saying that there is going to be an internal investigation, so we are waiting to see what happens. But we all carry on. It's fun and games in Great Britain. But personally, I don't know what everyone's been doing, but I have been doing lots of sorting at the moment. So lots of recycling, which has been really therapeutic, I have to say. It's been a really great feeling. So it's like releasing this huge weight. And we have here in the Great Britain, I don't know if you have it, Dr. Jacalyn, it's called Next Door, and it's an app that everyone tunes into. So each little area has its own Nextdoor app, and it's incredible. I don't know how long it's been going for. I think a couple of years, and it really, everyone communicates and connects. And actually, from a charity point of view, it's really fabulous. And the recycling and passing on goods is really, really good. I don't know if that's something that Ian wants to enter into, but I think you're interested in the Nextdoor, weren't you?
Definitely. So is this the app where you can actually find out about your neighbors as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how it works, because you can track things down your street even. I don't know if someone spotted someone, and then it sort of like filters through. So there's small things, but it's also good for businesses. But what I love, it's like if anyone needs anything, that's the main thing. That there's always so many people who are there ready to give, and it's fabulous.
I think in my flat, because I live in an apartment, and quite honestly, sometimes we can hear next door without any app, you know. and so I wonder sometimes, to be perfectly honest, the goings on that are going on, and I'd rather not know.
So are you both on the app? I know I'm not on it, but Helena, you're on it, it sounds like.
It's great. It's great. And it's, as I say, I've been recycling. I want to get rid of lots of things. And there's always someone else that's so happy to receive my things. So it makes me feel really happy.
I do love that, because I'm all about recycling as well. So I didn't realize that you could do that. I thought it was basically learning who your neighbors were, what they do. So I see it's more of a community thing.
You can have, and if you want something, I don't know, if you want an electrician at the drop of a hat or anything, there's always someone there. So it's a wealth of information. There you go. So that's
there
all.
You go. Thank you.
I'm just wondering whether Helena's going to recycle me next. I don't.
I'm going to keep quiet there, I think. I'm going to keep quiet. So, I mean, there's lots of other things as well. I mean, something I heard, which I was quite happy about, is talking of being recycling, Ian. There's a day, do you remember Sir Captain Tom, who a little while ago raised so much money for charity and for the NHS? And he's sadly no longer with us, but his daughter is introducing a special day in memory of Sir Captain John, and it's going to be a charitable day. And it's really to try and change the way some people perceive older people. So it's going to, can you see the link? You see the link?
You see, all this rumours I've been hearing about Helena wanting to recycle me. You know,
what can I say?
What can I say?
No, but I just
tell our audience how long you guys have been working together.
12 years.
I think it's longer than that.
Is it?
It's longer, yes. Because we
worked on other things.
Other things. I see it's in this kind of business thing, because we worked as well in previous to the Royals.
Absolutely, you're right.
But
as royal commentators, 12 years now.
Yeah. So a long time.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
We know each other's foibles quite well.
I had normal hair when I first started, but there's a touch of grey in my hair now.
It was blondie. It looked blondie at one point.
It was actually.
It was quite sandy, but now.
I wouldn't say that you've turned me grey.
No. So another thing as well that's we always have these special days, don't we? And actually, it's great. How real some of these are, I don't know, but we should all start our own days too. But something which is really, really important. So today is the last day of National Grief Awareness Week, which is a really important week, and it aims to raise awareness about all the aspects of grief, its potential impacts, and how you can actually support someone else going through a bereavement and any kind of grief. And the whole idea is to normalise grief and turn them from, grief and bereavement, turn it from a taboo into something that people can talk about, which is so, so important. And of course, we've had this line with mental health for some time now. And so lots of people have been sharing their stories, which has been quite uplifting. And I know the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, he revealed recently his emotional toll when he worked with Air Ambulance, when he was doing rescues. I was close to tears, and he was talking about how sad he felt of seeing especially young children that reminded him of his children in challenging situations. And he's speaking about it on Apple's Time to Walk podcast, which I've not seen or heard, should I say, because it's a podcast, but I look forward to listening to it. So I think it's something we should all tune into. And it is something as well which is free. It's one of his conditions that he said that everyone should be able to access it. So so that's something that's been happening. So I've been speaking to lots of people, and that's why in a way as well we have a perfect guest today that I'm so excited that she's joining us. Her name is Jenetta Barry, and she makes such a positive difference in the world. I mean, there's so many things that she's achieved. There are so many things that we could talk about, but probably won't be able to have time to talk about everything today. Jenetta, she lost her 16-year-old daughter, Jenny, to suicide after a heated argument. And Jenetta has used her personal journey to push through, which must have been utter despair, and has developed a special process which enables her to help others in managing grief and learning resilience, which is the Epiphany Process, which I find intriguing. and I want to find out more. So she is an expert in trauma and crisis management, which are really good skills to have, I have to say. So I'm so thrilled, and I think we should bring her out and say hi, because she's a very special lady.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's just such an honor and privilege to be here. And hello to everyone.
Thank you, Jenetta. We're just really excited that you joined us, and the perfect woman for today's show, as we're on the last day of National Grief Awareness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good time. Start new conversations.
Absolutely. So, Jenetta, you're an expert in trauma and crisis management. So can you discuss and tell us exactly what you mean by this?
Well, so many people, I think we all have times where we go through some form of crisis, some challenge, and it has a different effect on different people depending on their coping skills or lack of coping skills. So I would hazard a say in saying that the majority of people, at least once in their lives, have to find ways to deal with something that has severely tested them in their belief system and lifestyle. And that's what I help people to work through, so that they live a life that's inspired once again.
That's great, Jenetta. And I know that you there's something to do with am I making this up? Terrorists or something? Was there some kind of
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've helped all sorts of people through unbelievable bits and pieces. And the one was I was actually flown in. A client flew me in and said, "You've got to be there," because I am from Kenya. I always say I'm a Maasai in disguise, because I'm only 5 foot and very pale, and they're very tall and rather dark. So I am from there. And when Nairobi had the Westgate Mall terrorist attack, this client of mine flew me in to work with people. And that was really insightful, working on that terrorist attack. I've helped young people who are stuck in bed, self-harming, not eating, not washing, get out of bed, and basically they sit there saying, "I feel so boring and I have no purpose in life," and they're out and living a life filled with purpose afterwards. People who've been in PTSD, you name it. It's been an incredibly heart-opening and heartwarming journey for me after my greatest life test.
Wow. And I know that you do work with parents and children, teenagers, and you can work, because of your experience, you help the communication skills between them, which I think is fabulous.
Absolutely.
I know that you said that you pushed through your despair and trauma. I mean, are you able to sort of share a little bit more information?
Yeah, I can. Because a lot of people see me as I am today and go, "Are you for real? Can you really get to where you are now?" And it looks like you're either in denial or is it possible? And so a lot of people don't realize what I actually had to go through to get to where I am today. And I always joke and laugh and say, I didn't have a Jenetta to help me. But yeah, Jenny was my third child of 4, and always a troubled little soul. From the moment they put her in my arms when she was born, she was a squirmy baby. And throughout her childhood, I wondered how we were going to manage teenagerhood, because she was a very intense little being. And when she was 14, she came to me and said, "We have a problem, because I don't know what to do. I have been suicidal, secretly suicidal, my whole life. And I tried to strangle myself in front of the mirror when I was 7, but I haven't told anybody." So we went on a huge journey together. And what was very apparent was that the system wasn't working for her. It's a long story and possibly for another time. But she realized that I and the system weren't providing the skills or the answers that she needed to have provided and feel safe. And with that indisposition or disposition comes a lot of manipulation for them to feel okay about themselves and to feel as though they've got some semblance of control. And it was in me saying, right, you can't do this because it's not safe. And here are the safekeeping house rules that escalated into an enormous argument one day as she just turned 16 and she left to pack to leave home. And I went to find her, and I found she had ended her life in her ensuite bathroom. So it was huge. And my whole life went to ground zero in that moment. And the journey going through, and 3 times, in fact, I planned my suicide because I couldn't see a way through something like that. It's difficult enough losing a child, let alone losing a child to suicide after you had an argument with that child. So it was huge, and it was tough. It was not easy. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. I had what I called my crossing over moment that made me go, okay, I have to find a way. I refuse to live this grieving. It's like a prison sentence, an emotional prison sentence. You feel as though you're in a dark black hole stuck there for the rest of your life. And it's just so overwhelming. And I decided I wasn't going to stay in that hole. And prophetically, 9 months after Jenny died, it took 9 months to form her, and 9 months after losing her, I came across in my study and research the basics of what I call the Epiphany Process. And it's really the yin and yang of science. And it got me through, and it's now helped so many people all over the world. I've been international online now for 14 years.
Oh my gosh. Wow. What an incredible story. Thank you so much for your courage and your transparency and sharing that with us today. And I'm just so interested to learn more about this Epiphany process. And you've had great success and wonderful reviews. And we have a clip today, one of the examples of your success, Larissa Allen. I'm wondering, before we play the clip, if you could give a little bit of background information.
Yeah, Larissa, I get goose pimples just talking about these success stories. And Larissa, in World Jenny's Day, which we'll also be talking about a bit later, she's talked in detail about where she'd come from by the time she got to me. And she had a very severe eating disorder and being bulimic, and was had huge suicidal ideation. And she was caught out by her doctor because she was saying to her mum, I've got a really, really bad sore throat, hoping that he'd be able to put something down her throat and sort out the sore throat. But of course, he looked down there and saw it was severely burnt from making herself vomit all the time. And that whole process had burnt her. And he just sat her down and said, you have to do something about this, and I know what's going on here. And they called her mother back into the waiting room, and she said, this is what I've been doing for some years. It started in boarding school in another country, and I've kept it secret all this time, and I just don't want to carry on living. And so her parents had heard about me and contacted me, and the two of us started this amazing journey together. And she is now in a very powerful place. She's a school teacher and doing amazing things because she's using this process with those kids and starting powerful conversations with them too. So it's a really heartwarming story.
Thank you very much. Let's take a look at the clip.
So I wanted to take my life, and I tried multiple times. I was bulimic, so I used to throw up my food. I'd been to so many therapists, and it was the same story every time. You sit there, you tell them your story, you sob your heart out, and you leave, and you come back and you do the same week after week. And I'd given up. I'd given up on therapy. I'd been on antidepressants. I knew nothing worked. And what I learned with you is a process that I've never had to come back to you. I learned like a skill to do it myself, and that took away the fear of I'm always going to need therapy in my life. And the reason this process works for me is because the questions deal with the harsh truths, and they teach you have to do the work. No one else is going to fix me. That it's something you learn, and it's sort of like a comfort you can have in the back of your head. You do it yourself, like you always say, it's mental gym. You have to make yourself do it or you don't get better. It was so different, and this process made me deal with my disorder, and it got to the bottom of it. The questions got to the bottom of it, and again, I wasn't cured overnight. I had to put the work in, and it had to come from me. And slowly I got over my fear of food and eating and why I had got this eating disorder. I have to do the work by going through and practicing every day. And to this day, I do it every day. And now I'm all good.
Wow. I have chills.
It's lovely. And what's so lovely is you give all your clients this toolkit so they know how to use the toolkit. It's fabulous.
It's so true. In fact, they often tease me and they say, the problem with you, Jenetta, is that you keep on losing clients. And I do, because they go off and they don't need me. In fact, the one young person who's actually coming up in a clip with a piece of his sayings, he was one of those people that was stuck in bed and not washing and self-harming and writing suicide notes. He was out of bed. Oh, and they tried many as well, tried to get him into different ways to get through this. He was out of bed by the third session, and by session 12 he was interacting and socializing again, and then going into sessions with me about how he could find out what his life purpose was. He's now a pilot. It's that effective. If you really apply yourself and you're really dedicated to doing it, you can run with those tools almost immediately and work them on a day-to-day basis.
Wow. Thank you.
That's amazing, Jenetta. I mean, this whole thing, I know what it's like. One of my friends tried to commit suicide a while back, and I had to try and talk her out of it. I know as well that you've got a love of the theatre and the arts yourself, and your parents played a great part in this whole thing at the same time, and they are successful artists, performing artists as well. So tell us more about that side of your world as well.
Yeah, I was very fortunate in having grown up in the theatre in Kenya. We used to bring whoever was directing a musical or a play on the West End at that time. We would fly them out and they would direct us in Nairobi, and we'd give them a 3-month safari there, which they used to grab. So I grew up with a very rich childhood. I did ballet there with another interesting story, a ballet mistress who had fled Russia at the time of the Russian Revolution. So I did Russian ballet at the time that the Iron Curtain was down. Also another story for another time, fascinating story with her. But actually the backstory to that was that my mum, before going to Africa, was on the West End stage, performing on the West End stage. And that, and then Dad, when he met her, they started their own review company. They were in South Africa at that time before we moved to Kenya. There's Mum on the West End stage there. That, I think, was the first time they'd done any flying ballet on stage anywhere, I think. And that's Mum. They're busy rehearsing to get her up, and then here's Dad. This is Dad from review and cinema. He was in the film industry. When we were in Kenya, he started his own record label. And from that came, he was known as the father of Kenyan music. That's him in the control room there. And one of his songs has been sung worldwide by Harry Belafonte, Brothers Four, Boney M, Miriam Makeba. A whole load of people have sung, and it's called Malaika, which means angel in Swahili. So with that very rich background, and both Mum and Dad being theatre critics as well in Kenya, it was the most amazing way to grow up. And I've never looked back. It's been a marvelous medium to express from.
Beautiful pictures. I love that when you're able to look back and the black and white, the beautiful photographs, and remember your family members like that. It's wonderful.
And how lovely as well that your did you say that your father's, it was your father's song that all these groups and famous people sung?
Yeah, it was, in all fairness, he didn't write the song. A lot of the other songs, one of the top national songs that's second to the national anthem in Kenya, he did write. But this one was pre-existing when he took over the studio and has this gramophone pressing factory. It sounds so ancient. Shellac records they were pressing in those days, because we're talking about the late 1950s. And but this one he found in a pile of workshopped songs, gathering dust, and he went through them all and took this particular one and rearranged it, gave it a calypso rhythm and all sorts of things, and said to my mum, this is going to become an international hit. And I think my mum went, yeah, right. Well, it was. It became an international hit. And it put Kenya on the national charts, international charts. And also another one was done by the Tremolos called Helule Helule. And they sang it more in English and rearranged it a little bit, but the original is in Swahili as well. All of them are in Swahili.
So lovely. I love hearing all these stories. It's so exciting, so creative. Also, I know that you dance. I know that you perform, and you perform in some of your productions with various different people. Why do you feel that portraying mental health through the arts is so important?
Oh, I love that question. Because mental health, or as you and I were saying the other day when we were chatting, mental wealth, has been given a bad name. It's got a lot more stigma attached to it than it really needs to have. And because people are just so easily charged up about this subject, even to this day, it's about trying to fix people and analyze and fix. And I noticed that kind of labels people and then keeps you stuck in that place that there's something really very wrong with you and you're different to everybody else. And with theatre and the arts, when one can step forward and use that medium, it makes the message very subtle. It makes it more understandable, but at the same time, it gives incredible impact once it's being delivered, far better than just the spoken word or chatting or discussing or analyzing.
Thank you. And also taking that also into something recently that you celebrated, that everyone celebrated, which is World Jenny's Day. Now, I know that you've celebrated it for a little while, but it's celebrated on the 10th of October. So this year, 10th of October 21, World Mental Health Day, which in itself is something. And it's celebrating mental health wellness. And I know that you celebrated, I think, on 2 platforms, and it was a huge success. And you had lots of ambassadors, and in fact, Inspiring Vanessa, who we've had on our show, was I think she's 16 now, isn't she? She's
15, yeah, she's 15.
She's 15. One of the ambassadors, which is lovely. We've got a clip that we want to play called Why Jenny's Day. And so maybe we shall play that, and then you can explain a little bit afterwards and tell us how the whole event went.
All right, let's take a look at it. Wow.
It's really uplifting. It's a lovely video. Thank you. And also you were able to share about it. I know that it's a celebration.
It is. And the reason why it's on World Mental Health Day is that a couple of years after Jen died, we'd realized that she had died on World Mental Health Day. And that to me was a very clear message that something meaningful on that day needed to happen regularly, year after year, as it became more and more of a household name and made a difference worldwide. And that's what we've been doing.
Incredible work. And I love that video for so many reasons. It's has so much meaning and so much power and so many feelings that you feel as you watch it. So very well done. Jenetta, we will surely be playing a clip called Crossing Over. Can you give us some information about this before we actually show it?
Oh, yes. Crossing Over is the finale number of Act 1 in the theatrical production Insight that we put on. We premiered in Nairobi, and then it got invited to be performed in Europe. And we're going to franchise it worldwide and have it performed all over the world once all this lockdown stuff is out the way. And the reason why I put it in is it's actually my story. And I can remember before I made this decision, I was in an awful place, not present, very distant, numb, absolutely numb, and trying to pretend I was all right. And I was walking along a street knowing I need to cross the road. And I thought, I don't want to cross the road. In fact, I would be very happy if I did cross the road and reach the other side type of feeling. And I stepped mindlessly off the pavement into the oncoming traffic and wove through. How I didn't get hit, I don't know. Got to the middle. And as I was standing in the middle, I went, I've forgotten that I have choice. I've made what's happened, because it is so big, define me and make what's going to be the rest of my life as the truth. And I reminded myself in the middle of that street that I still had choice, and I'd forgotten that I had eliminated that possibility. So I carried on still through the rest of the traffic coming the other way and stepped off onto the pavement on the other side, realizing that prophetically I had had my crossing over moment on many levels, on a spiritual, emotional, mental, and also I'd survived not crossing over on a physical level. And that's when I decided I'd have to find ways. It was still difficult, don't get me wrong. I didn't go off and go, right, I'm okay now, and I found it, and it wasn't. It was still a journey, but I then practiced my right to choose. And I kept on choosing all the time. When things became too overpowering, I'd go, Jenetta, you still have choice in this situation. What are the choices? And then I'd bring them down to 2, and then one that was most heart-opening for me, and using the process that this pushed me to start looking for. So this is it with me having written it out. For those of you who are listening today, it's showing people on the stage with some amazing lighting and effects going along in the street, and the person that's representing me is doing contemporary dance, crossing over as I'm speaking. So here it is, crossing over.
Thank you so much. Let's take a look at this clip.
Cars purposefully drive past. People facelessly walk by. My feet mindlessly move across the pavement. My body present, but inside me is not. All around, life is living, but I'm dying. Every cell in my body consumed with no longer wanting to exist. No point in carrying on. The emotional pain, larger than life allows. My very existence screaming for the pain to go. Somewhere, my unconscious mind is telling me that it's time to cross the road. I reach the pavement edge, and then, as my automated self steps to move into the streams of traffic, my conscious mind kicks in. I suddenly know that I don't want to leave this existence. My auto move makes my feet step off the curb edge. I also know that by continuing to exist as I'm feeling, I'm living an emotional, despair-filled life sentence. My body weaves between the rushing cars as I move into the middle of the road. Then certainty hits me. I really only have ever had 2 choices. To live a long and overwhelming life filled with angst. I continue to navigate between the other lane of traffic moving in the other direction. Or choose to find a way to live a life with purpose. I reach the other side of the street, and as my feet step back onto pavemented ground, I know that I no longer want to live a life of hell on earth. I know the time has come to choose to find ways to live a spontaneous and inspired life, to find meaning and purpose because of my pain, and to be able to search and find the answers as to how to feel at ease with life. I realize that in only minutes I have taken an epic journey, my most vital ever, and that I'm still here, and that I've safely crossed over. the end of that being the finale, everybody's going, okay, so there's an answer. But in reading Jenny's diaries after she died, one of the things that was coming through very strongly in her writings was that she wanted to get better, but she didn't know how. And so she'd say, okay, I'm stepping forward and I'm going to be super positive from now on. I'm going to get better. And then she'd make the decision that I had made when I got to the other side of the road, but without the skills to do that with, she wrote, it felt like life was shouting at her again and screaming, and she didn't know how to get over what was challenging her, even though she was trying to be super positive and get through. So as much as that finale lifts everybody up and goes, oh, okay, you've got choice. Suddenly she's being blindsided again and going, oh, I can't cope. And it feels like everybody's screaming and shouting at me. And that's the end of the Act 1, and Act 2 is the solution side. So it's a very poignant moment.
It's so powerful. I have to say, so powerful. Was it a certain dance group that you used, or is it?
It was a really interesting scenario. I was dancing with a ballet school back then 3 years ago, and we'd been on in another show in the theatre I grew up in Kenya. And prophetically, again, I was 16 when I'd last performed there, and Jenny was 16. So when I entered that theatre, I knew something significant was going to happen. And as they were striking set, a very good friend of mine and I were walking across the stage to join the cast upstairs in the bar, and Jenny's most favorite song started playing. They were playing music as they were striking that set, and I said, that's Jenny's song. This is an indication that something meaningful is going to happen. And we got upstairs, and the choreographer, who's from the Philippines, Ami Yumian, said, we've got to put on a theatrical production using dance and make it a community thing. And we did. We had non-dancers come in. So some of the dancers, you can see, they've clearly not danced before, but they trained for 9 months with us. And then we've got people who are trained and professionals dancing in it. And that mix was so meaningful.
Right, thank you.
It's I always remember an editor, we were discussing suicide one time. It's something that always left very, very poignant for me was that it was always the people who are left behind that really have a problem to deal with. How do you feel about that? But I know you've got another video called Shush as well. And so perhaps you can just talk a little bit about that at the same time.
Yes. And in fact, one step ahead of that is that it's trying to deal with a person that's feeling compromised, that's feeling out of sorts, like they're not fitting in. It's one thing, there is a sort of support group for that person. But what I found was there was very little support for the people caring for those people. Very little. And in fact, as a parent of an acting out teenager, you actually get thoroughly attacked with regularity and fingers pointed at you as bad parenting and what kind of parent are you. So you're trying to deal with that coming sideways on you and trying to keep your child alive. And it was the most lonely journey. My husband and I, we were in 2 separate towns at the time. He'd found work in another city and we were trying to stay consolidated where we were. So I was trying to deal with this completely on my own. And, you know, it really, I used to say, where are the rights of parents and all of this? Because we're just completely laid flat. And I know a lot of people who take on caring of people are open to a lot of abuse and misuse because there's not that support system or guidance or coping skills for them. So, and then you saying how to deal with it afterwards and how to deal with your grief with something quite so tragic and dramatic. And this particular piece was, we'd had a lot of pieces danced in the minor key, understandably, and I knew that we needed a piece that was upbeat but was deeply meaningful and insightful as to what actually was going on. So Shh is really about how, and this happens so often, the person is diagnosed as broken, as I was saying, which is not true, but they're diagnosed that there's something very wrong with them. They're put on medication. It's like everybody is tiptoeing around them a lot of the time. And often what they'll do is, because it's got such stigma attached to it, they go, you're not allowed to tell anyone what's happening to me because it makes them feel worse. So now I even had, I wasn't even allowed to talk to my best friend about it. So she would phone me and I'd say, yeah, everything's fine. We're doing fine. And, and this one's doing that and Jenny's this. And I had to pretend through that whole time, which is equally as isolating as well, because how do you cope pretending that everything's all right? And it becomes the family secret. And it's that secret that I believe kind of jumps into the next generation unless it's dealt with authenticity and understanding. And when everybody can be authentic about it, the stigma, the judgment drops, and then everybody's talking the most heart-opening conversations. So this piece shows the person in bed and the whole family running around trying to do everything for them, and it's making them worse. And it gives some insight, and it's done to an upbeat Sunshine and Lollipops song.
Thank you. All right, let's take a look at Shush.
No problem. Never been better. You've got no idea how well she's doing. She's no idea how well you're doing so well.
Stronger and better, and she's really okay. Super great.
That was a very upbeat song, wasn't it? Very, very jolly, but yeah, brilliant.
In fact, I also chose it because it involves a lot of sweets, and we're pretty addicted to the sweet drug, and it can have a huge effect on how we handle or don't handle the challenges in life. So I thought it was really poignantly apt song.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. That's clever. Brilliant. So Jenetta, so obviously you help so many people, and I can imagine that becomes quite exhausting. I don't know whether I'm being presumptuous there, but on occasion it must be quite exhausting, always giving. I just wonder, what do you do for you as your release?
Well, first of all, there is a lot I do. Obviously, I still dance 2 or 3 times a week, and I've been doing it in Zoom for some time now, which has been great. I haven't had to travel. But I do. I'm very mindful of taking time off. But to be honest, that's why I love this process, because it when I'm working with people that really want to make this work, then amazing things happen, and it's uplifting and it's enlightening. And the reason why it works is that when people first speak to me, they think they're interviewing me to see if they relate to me and the process, which they are, and they do need to, but they don't realize I'm also interviewing them, because there are 2 types of clients. There's the one that's comfortable being uncomfortable, and then there's the one that's uncomfortable being uncomfortable. So the former is comfortable being uncomfortable because although they're in a lot of emotional pain, something is happening in that scenario that's serving them. It could be that it gets them a lot of support and backing and empathy, sympathy, action. It gives them their label and defines them. I know a lot of parents, when they lose their children, they don't want to get through, and I'm generalizing, obviously, don't necessarily want to get through and be okay again, because in their loss, they've lost their label of being mother of whoever, but now they've got this label of mother of dead whoever, and that's support and backup. So there are many reasons why one steps into being uncomfortable. And whilst that's more valuable than getting rid of the pain, not my client. I can't help them because that's too valuable, and they're not going to work through dropping all that dance they're dancing. And it literally is an emotional, mental dance they're dancing. So for me, when I take on a client, they're ready. They can't take another minute of how they feel. And so they work it through, and they have epiphany moment after epiphany moment. They're sitting there going, oh my word, oh my word. So by the time we get to an end of a session, they're feeling lighter, because literally they're creating photons. If I go into the science side, photons in their body, and they're lightening up. And what felt absolutely dark before feels lighter. And so I come off calls going, oh, wow, that was amazing. So the hard work is things like World Jenny's Day and getting it out there and making a difference. That's where I get exhausted.
Congratulations on everything that you're doing. And by the way, you look radiant today. You do not look exhausted in the least. So whatever you're doing, it's working. I'm very intrigued by World Jenny's Day NFT arts collection. Can you tell us more?
Yeah. The bigger picture is that we set the intent in January this year that we would find ways to express mental health, wealth, and wellness through the medium of theatre and the arts. And it morphed into a procession of happenings all the way through the year that by the time World Jenny's Day happened on the 10th of October, we realized that it was more like a closing ceremony than anything else, because amazing things happened. And one of them was being one of the pioneers of a whole World Jenny's Day NFT art collection. If you visit worldjennysday.com and see the page on that, an NFT is non-fungible token and is part of the blockchain. So all the art we've put in on World Jenny's Day, and we're going to expand it where we'll invite more and more artists to put in there. It's registered with its own unique number. It can never be changed. It can never be copied. It can never anything. And it's given a mouthpiece, NFTs, to a lot of artists who are living on the breadline. And the wonderful thing about NFTs is it isn't just about drawing or painting art. It can be song. It can be what am I trying to think of? Instruments. It can be dance. It can be video as well. And so it's such a rich place to be. And as I say, we were one of the pioneers to put this together. I'm so filled with awe in what we managed to do this year with that. So much so that we attached World Jenny's Day to the United Nations, who were aware we were doing this, with their SDGs, their Sustainable Development Goals, and got involved with the people who rewrote them in the last few years at the UN. And they'd moved the Sustainable Development Goals from being human-centric, and they'd rewritten them to be nature-centric, because nature can heal wherever. It doesn't matter how much destruction. Look at Chernobyl. It's not only up to man. It really, nature really rules. And because of that, we wanted to attach World Jenny's Day to that whole approach. And so sustainable development goal number 3 is mental health and wellness. And the day we launched it's called an NFT drop, we had the United Nations with us, one of the top people who had rewritten those sustainable development goals, and witnessed that World Jenny's Day now has an art collection on the blockchain.
Oh my goodness. It is so fascinating to me how you've taken a personal situation and something that people do not like to talk about, and you have creatively and in so many different positive ways brought light to the subject. Well done.
I have to tell you that this isn't me, myself, and I could not have done any of this without the most amazing team behind all of this. It was teamwork.
Well, it's teamwork that is impacting the world. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Jenetta, so you are a wealth of knowledge, and you've shared some amazing things today. And I love that art currency that you were just talking about. But do you have any tips, anything at all that you can share with us that maybe will help people who are going through certain challenges at this time, whether it's COVID or anything? I don't know, something that you can share.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're all grieving. Grief comes in many, many forms. And at the moment, the world is grieving. It's grieving a way of life that we perceived was the way to live. And again, I'm generalizing, of course, because not everybody feels like that, and not everybody around the world feels like that. But generally, there's been a death of what we were used to. And that's a lot of grief to deal with. And the bottom line is being able to understand, and it's more than theoretical, because if we can go around saying, oh, let's find the gift in this, the hidden gift, it's wonderful to theorize. But this is what I've noticed. When we can go along going, I'm so challenged, I'm feeling a sense of loss, I'm feeling empty and hollow and worthless and useless, and life isn't worth anything, and I'm so filled with grief for whatever it is, whatever loss it is, or whatever challenge. And it's so easy to then come in the light of day and logicalize it all. Okay, if I take this action and I do that, and then I do this, and the brain takes over, and we have all these logical steps and solutions, and okay, I've got it handled. But because we're not just our logic, we're also our emotions. And I always liken our logic to our male logical abilities, and our emotions are female feeling abilities. And because that often gets marginalized when we're only in logic and gets suppressed so often, I mean, hands up, how many of us have woken up at 3 a.m. going, as our emotions go, that is such nonsense. Whatever I was thinking about during the light of day, it's not going to work. It's too scary. I'm not good enough. It's not good enough. They're not good enough. The whole thing is shot to pieces. And there is an internal battle going on inside one when that happens. And that dissension is what pulls us apart and makes us feel polarized from where the truth and the light and our wisdom really is. So the tip with this is doing more than logicalizing. It's being able to very really, on all levels, I use 7 areas, seven life areas, on all areas on a conscious and an unconscious level, to see where this situation is serving in ways you never, ever realized they are. So the tip here is more than just going, okay, this is the positive list, a bit like Pollyanna, yeah, this is a positive list, and we'll marginalize what isn't working and take out all negative thought, word, and deed. When you do that, you're judging half of who you are and half of who you or what you're feeling. And that judgment makes you feel worse, because it's basically saying half of what you are doesn't matter or is not good enough. So the secret here is to take that half that we try and shut down, all the negative side, and look at it and go, where are you meaningful to what's happening? And even if you're very attached to being overly positive, where being overly positive isn't meaningful to what's happening, because what happens then, two new conversations start happening where you can actually start listing equal amount of negative to what is positively happening in that situation, and equal amount of positive to what's negatively happening. The list is equally as long. And when that happens, you create in your body what's known in science as a photon. And you lighten up, because photon, phos in Greek, means light. So you start becoming lighter, you become enlightened. Sometimes I sound like the Tao, but I'm still talking science speak. And that's what Epiphany Process moment is being able on many, many levels, more than just your logical level, start listing where the situation is either serving you more than you believe it, or isn't serving you more than you're attached to. And when you've got an equal list, a balance happens, and then suddenly you're not roller coastering from extreme emotion to extreme high to extreme low when one's being challenged. And you're very centered and focused and clear. And actually, my clients talk about, they step backwards and they can see a bigger picture on all sides of what's happening, and it blows them. I've never looked at it that way. You hear them often say, I never thought about it that way. And it blows them. So it's about being able to bring a balance of negative and positive, and overthinking and overfeeling. When you can do that, even just my explaining that shifts people. So today I know just explaining that makes a difference. So that's for today. It's a start.
Gosh, that's fantastic. That's so insightful. I got it exactly. And I that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing it with all of us.
Yeah, I have to say, I think I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning last night going, and as you were talking, I actually didn't realize I was still holding on to some of that, and now it's dissipated. So thank you. I can see how you're so great at what you do.
Oh, it's such an honor and a privilege to be able to share it today. And my parting shot here is I still have 3 o'clock in the mornings. So this isn't about getting rid of the 3 o'clock in the mornings. It's about understanding what they can do for you, as much as you go, I'm so tired. I now have some very interesting and enlightening things that I work through at 3 o'clock in the morning, so that I'm actually thankful I've had a 3 o'clock in the morning, not going, oh no, this isn't right, not good enough. So you go easy on yourself.
Thank you. Thank
you. Can I just say one thing as well? The Epiphany Process, your logo, we haven't got it to show at this moment, but obviously people go onto your websites. I love that Epiphany Process logo, especially the 3D one. It's so clever and so pretty. I just thought I'd let you know.
Oh, thank you. I love it too. It was designed here in London by a man called Tsukishima, and he really got it. And we met up in a restaurant in Marylebone actually, and he went, don't know if you're gonna like this, and he pulled it out, and I went, oh, it's just what I'm looking for. Thank you. Hugged him on the spot. Haven't looked back with it.
Lovely. Well done, Tsukishima, I think you said his name was. Really great. Oh, it's been fabulous having you on. It really has.
Well, again, thank you. If this can, I always say, if this can make a difference to one person, then that's what it's about. So thank you for the opportunity.
It's truly been our pleasure and a gift and joy to hear your story and how many people that you're helping. And we will be replaying this show several times during the week for people who want to watch, or they can go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV. And Jenetta, if you would share with our audience the best way for people to reach you. We do have it in all the platforms, but for people listening on the radio.
Yes, we've got a bit of a challenge. It's amazing. Yesterday we were, over the last couple of days, been moving the website over, and I've got no website right now. It should be up later today, but just in case it isn't, you can hear and read all about the Epiphany Process on the worldjennysday.com website. We've got the ability to find out more there. But normally the Epiphany is www.theepiphanyprocess.com. You can get hold of more information there. And of course, worldjennysday.com. And we've got various Facebook pages. I know you've got all that information to share, and obviously Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And my WhatsApp number, if anybody wants to personally send a message to my WhatsApp number, it's a UK number, so that's +44 777 423 0464. And you're very welcome to step forward and chat with me.
Thank you so much. I just love the fact that you came here today and you just brought so much authentic, wonderful goodness, and to a topic that is, it's all of us know someone who lost someone to suicide, and it used to be something that people didn't discuss. Nobody knew anything about it. Nobody knew anyone who went through it, and yet we're finding more and more that it's touching so many lives. So thank you for all this wonderful work that you're doing, and so many creative outlets that you're using as well.
Oh, thank you again. I'm blown away with this show. You're doing so much, and thank you for the opportunity to.
Well, we wish you the best, and we look forward to having you back again to hear what else you're going to be up to, because I know there's more coming.
This is true. We've got a planning session coming up next week. And that's the other thing, is that team of World Jenny's Day, they're from all over the world. They're from everywhere. I love that. So we've got my copywriter is in Manhattan, and then we've got another one that's in New Jersey, Dr. Jacalyn. And then we've got a lot in Kenya, obviously. We've got Norway. My son, Neil, who's in Botswana, he's coming in to brainstorm with us. We're putting a 100-year plan together next week, or the makings of it, the startings of it, so that this legacy can carry on. And we've got Australia, we've got New Zealand. Unbelievable. Amazing.
Wow. Well, we're definitely going to keep talking, that's for sure, because we're interested to see how it develops. Exciting times.
I knew there was more.
I look forward to sharing it with you and seeing where this takes. Because what I loved about this year was that a lot of it, we had the skeleton there, and we were able to say, let's see what it brings us. So we didn't go, it has to be this way. And that's when it morphed and became the amazing year and day. And that's what we're going to do next year as well.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, so much, so much. And we will see you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lots and lots
for being
of love.
here.
Thank
It's
you.
a pleasure meeting you. Thank you. Bye. Oh my goodness. So
great.
powerful. So amazing.
Really
Thank
good.
you.
Really good. Lovely tips as well. Good. And all that. I love the creativity as well. And the whole fact that everything is so international, you know, all over the globe. Because I know that Jenny's Day, it was in, I think, Clubhouse. It was running for 24 hours on Clubhouse as well, but in different parts of the world. And it's amazing, isn't it, when you put in all the work, what you can achieve. So that was fabulous.
Yes,
Really
it definitely was. And to your point, it affects people all over the world, right? We're all human beings. We're all vulnerable. We all have things that we don't like to share, and things that we can reach out and ask for help. And so I think that what Jenetta is doing is just incredible and so much value.
Yay. Another good show. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
See you again soon.
I'm going to just spotlight you guys if there's anything you want to share about what you're doing, or maybe something coming up for the holidays, or anything you want to share with us.
No, I think
we're good. I mean, I'm looking forward to a rest. I think, like lots of people, I'm going to carry on sorting through all my things and give them away, which will make me feel good as well. Hopefully, people can benefit from them. I'm in that sort of tidy, I wonder how many other people are. I'd be interested to know whether other people are going through that sort of stage that maybe less is more. I bet there's lots of people. We've got more time, haven't we, to think about things? Well, I have. Maybe it's my personal thing, but yeah. So
yeah, I feel the same way. I actually was going through the garage last night, and there's a lot of things that have been there for a long time, and you really have to think about what are you going to do to get rid of it, and where's it going to go, right? Because everything you get rid of, if you don't donate it to somebody, then it goes into a landfill somewhere, and then that's a whole other set of circumstances. We could have a whole show just on that.
So there we are. But Christmas is coming.
Yes. Well, I'm very excited. I'm going to close out our show with a brand new sponsorship from Diane Floyd Boehm. She's an international award-winning author, and we do have other clips of hers, but this one is for her newest book, Song of Peace. So let's take a look at it, and we will see you next week right here. Please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and you can subscribe there and see all of our shows in the playlist, Celebrate Great Britain Royally Rich. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Kapayapaan, kapayapaan, kapayapaan.
Diane Floyd Boehm's A Song of Peace tells the story of a young lad named Tommy whose fervent wish for peace on earth touches the hearts of his friends and family, spreads to his community, and eventually unites the whole world around making his dream of peace a reality for everyone. Sit down with the children in your life and share Tommy's amazing story of love and hope. Sing your own song of peace and invite the children to join you. Tommy's tale is more than just a story. It's a movement, and everyone's warmly welcome to take part.
Kapayapaan, 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 kapayapaan.
You'll find A Song of Peace, along with many other wonderful learning and enriching opportunities for children of all ages, at dianefloydboehm.com.